podcast to grow with. The clarity is potent. Take a pause in the moment. Breathe deep, let the soul lift. The podcast is to grow with. The clarity is potent. Take a pause in the moment. Breathe deep, let the soul lift. The podcast is to grow with. The clarity is potent.
This podcast is brought to you by Ataruka, leadership development that starts with the permission to pause. We serve productivity perfectionists drowning in checklists and seasoned leaders who know something needs to change but aren't sure what. Our consulting and coaching services are tailored to your goals. One-on-one sessions, team cohesion packages, workshops, and our community called the Break Room, where pausers support each other. Because sometimes the best leadership move is knowing when to stop, breathe, and have the candid conversations that lead to hard-won solutions.
Hey, friends. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Dynamic Pause with Coach Angie. And today I have a sister who might be a sister because we share the same last name with us today, Shavanety Jones. Thank you for joining us today. We've been talking about this for a hot minute, and now we're getting it done between the schedules. Everybody knows what's up with that, right? So in order to give you guys a fuller picture, I'm going to put her on the spot right now and tell you a little bit about her life and a little bit about what she does. I'm just going to tell you a tiny bit, and then we're going to let her riff on the rest and fill us in. But I am so excited to have her here. We've had many conversations together when we see each other out in the networking streets and all the things.
For sure.
And I just knew that getting you on the podcast would be the thing to do. So I'm excited that you're here today. Okay.
Being here.
Yeah. So Shavanety there's some acronyms. Forgive me. You're going to tell me what they mean in a minute. Okay. The SSP and the NCSP. She's a nationally certified innovative early career school who's originally from Louisiana, now based here in Washington State. She specializes in supporting gifted learners in grades 4 through 8. Through her business, she helps them to develop social and executive functioning skills. I want to know so much more about that. Needed to confidently transition into middle and high school. And I know I'm already thinking about my oldest grand who is just getting into a gifted learner program. And we let her choose it, whether she would do it or not. I say she got parents, y'all. I'm not raising her. I just, got real familiar there. But no, they let her choose it, which was really beautiful. And I was a part of it in that she came to talk to me about it, letting me know what she was thinking. And I was asking her, are you having reservations? And if so, why? She was able to communicate to me why that was, because it meant she was going to a different school. So she had to lose the friends that the interaction normally is with, all of that. Yeah. So thank you for coming. Tell us more about all of that.
Okay.
Start with those acronyms. What do they stand for?
I'll start with this. So SSP stands for Specialist in School Psychology. So it is a specialized graduate degree, 2-hour credit program. And because I'm from the South, for some reason, they call it the SSP. If you're in the North, they may call it an Ed Specialist, which is an ES. And it's kind of like how lawyers have 3 years that they get their JD. It's the same for us, 3 years of training.
Nice.
So there's a year of theory with practicum, a full year of practicum, and then internship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I did my internship in Washington State.
Is that how we got to you?
Yeah. I went to a national conference. It's called the NASP, National Association of School Psychologists, and they have a conference every year. And that's how I met the people in Washington, and that's how I'm here.
Well, welcome. Today, we're going to talk. What rose to the top when we were talking about today and when we would ever get on a podcast together was pivoting. And even after our conversation about it, you said, wait a minute, power in the pivot. And I was like, yes, we will title this episode Power in the Pivot based on all of that. Before we get into your occupational stuff, I do want to mention, because this sister is so talented in many ways. So yes, she is a professional of all means, but she also has another side to her. She is super creative, and you may or may not have already seen her locally out at theaters and things like that. So tell me a bit about the creative outlets and how much they might influence what you do on your day to day.
Yeah, so I really love cultural dancing. And what I mean by that is like bachata, it could be
Okay.
merengue, it could be
Yeah.
kizomba, which is a dance that many haven't heard of, but it originates in Angola. It's a partner dance. And
Okay.
it's essentially walking, but in a synchronized way.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, but I want to know more now.
Normally, when people see it, like, I gotta learn something.
Okay.
So I love doing that as a creative outlet and also improv theater.
Mm.
It helps me think on my feet and be able to tackle those situations that sometimes come out of left field. So improv has been great for that. And then I branched off into community theater too. I get to do plays and musicals. It's been great.
Yeah, I love that. I think one day you'll have to let me know the next time you do the cultural one so I can
Oh,
at least come observe and see, or send me a couple videos if they exist, because I'm very interested in that. So we are talking about pivots, and there were three main pivots that rose up in our conversations. And I wanted to say my podcast is the Dynamic Pause. That's my coach approach and what I do. And every time we talk about our pivot, there are little elements about the coach approach that I go with that float to the top. But today, when I was sitting here ready to talk to you, I kept thinking about how innovative you've had to be, or that you've chosen to be.
Mhm.
That's major. When you're talking about pivots, that's somebody who's willing to see innovation and then actually get after it. And so that innovative piece is the third pillar to my coach approach, is pause to innovate. But we get there by way of, okay, either pausing ourselves intentionally to breathe, or something knocking us on our butt and we ain't got no choice. And then there's clarity that comes up in those moments. And then we move on to our pause to negotiate with what we saw, what that clarity moment is, and then to make that decision and decide to do something with it. So your pivots are so in line with what I really believe so many leaders experience, but may not be able to name in that way,
Right.
but they experience it. My whole goal is that leaders will hear these stories from you and other amazing leaders who have been guests on the show, and be able to say, hey, I want to initiate it. I want to make that decision to
Mhm.
step in that direction. And so that's what the whole purpose of sharing these stories are, you guys, is so that you hear from other leaders and understand, like, things that you might be experiencing or maybe have experienced before aren't alienated to just you. And also that there are other ways of doing it. Collaboration is the thing. And as much as we get to our own selves, especially we're going to talk about your entrepreneurship here in a second, you're the decision maker, you're the driver, you're the everything. But we want you to understand and know and feel very comfortable in the idea of collaboration and learning from one another. Our learning never stops. Let's talk about your graduate school experience. You were telling me a little bit about that. Let's share your experience as a whole, and the school you went to, and just your positioning and how you felt entering into that.
Yeah. So I went to Louisiana State University in Shreveport. Not the one that
Oh,
I always have to say that I feel like we're smarter in Shreveport.
okay. Listen, don't come for me. She said that. Go ahead.
There's plenty of other stats to back it up. And that's where I went to undergrad as well. And I had a professor, my BS is in psychology.
Okay.
And I had a professor that was like, hey, have you heard of school psychology? And I'm like, a lawyer, what do you mean?
Okay.
He was like, well, it's this, you kind of get to do the law with this program and work with kids and other laypersons. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. So I did. I ended up at the time not wanting to move to go to law school. I just bought a house not too long ago. So I chose to apply for the program and I got in. I was one of 11 that got into the program.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So those were your early days and getting into a new program that you weren't necessarily seeking out, but did you find those similarities that he mentioned that you might see?
100%.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was well aligned with my interest.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. So this is coming up into one of those pivots. there was a summer class that you had to take, and it was a crucial class in that, like, the duration or the frequency that it was offered kind of played a very important role. Tell us about that.
Yes. So this class was assessment.
Mhm.
And I think it was assessment 2, but
Okay.
it's a class that's very difficult for school psychologists in training because
Okay.
you're learning something in a completely different way that you've never seen before. So you're learning how to do cognitive assessments and academic achievement tests with not much instruction. Here's the manual, figure it out.
Wow.
It's like, what? And in our profession at the time, there was nowhere you could go. I don't even think now. You can't go to YouTube and look up, how do I figure out what this cell means? This is something you had to study and use that manual to figure out. So you and the book and whoever was in your cohort that wanted to talk to you about.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, when we were talking, you were saying something about you taking that class and that getting to the end of that class really pushed you to have to make a decision about which direction you're going to go next in your educational pursuit. Tell us about that.
Yes. So this class was in the first year and first summer
Okay.
of the program. Program has 3 years. So in the summer, the classes are only 1 month long. So I've maintained my grades for, the fall, the spring. And then the summer came and I'm tired because I'm normally not working in the summer on schoolwork. I also had a job where I was a waitress.
Okay.
Full time, I had a job to part time. So I was working and trying to do the class, and I ended up making a C in the class.
Okay.
In which in this particular class, if you make a C as a failing grade, you have to repeat the class. So I had to make the decision of, do I want to get held back a whole year? This 3-year program would be now a 4-year program. Yes, like I could not go on to practicum without that class.
My good.
I had to make the decision of, do I want to stay in this program and have in my mind that it's going to be 4 years for me and not 3, and I'm going to be in a different cohort than when I started in, or do I just quit?
Oh my Lord. Y'all, whoo, that's a big one. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. Especially because you're already an adult. Like you said, you're working, you got home, you like, there's a lot of things. And when you're plotting out what you're going to do with your life, a whole year is a lot in those moments. When you look back later and you be like, maybe that would have been short, but at that time, though, it's a lot. That was a moment that you had to make a decision. Tell us about how you negotiated with yourself about that. Because I'm sure it wasn't just a cut and dry situation. Absolutely.
I would say it was very difficult for me because when you get into grad school, you're being challenged in a way that you've never been challenged before.
Sure.
And in my immediate family, my mother, she went to college then she was an adult.
Okay.
So she got like an associate's, then a bachelor's degree, but no one had that like master's or graduate degree.
Sure.
So I was kind of the first one paving the way for that.
Okay.
So that made it a little bit more difficult. But as I'm thinking about that moment, what I was thinking about, at first I was beating myself up. How could you do this? You're a failure. You're the dumbest one in the world. I mean, anything I could say negative about myself, I was saying.
Sure.
Very hard on myself. But I had people in my corner. I had God in my corner, and those around me were also a faith.
Okay.
That was pivotal as well.
That's so good. And I know we talked about the school. Was the school PWI or was the course itself?
I guess both.
Both.
I think LSUS would be considered a PW. So I will say in my cohort, I was the only Black person in the cohort. All of my peers were white, and I did have one. There was one person in the cohort who was Hispanic and white. So there wasn't much diversity in who was in the program or who was teaching the program. But I still felt like they were great teachers. I still felt like they cared about me and things like that. But it would get difficult when maybe you want to go to say something like, oh, can I say it that way? Because my kids okay? They think I'm mad or so I did have those stuff. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's some of that is just normal for us. Yeah. That's what we're dealing with. Okay. So that is awesome. What did you decide, by the way?
Well, I decided to continue in the program.
Awesome. Okay. And it's important for us to know when we do something like that, it may not be easy, even when we finally landed on the decision.
I feel like I had in my head a lot. You started it, you need to finish it.
Good.
Commit to it.
Okay.
Like you started, finish it.
And you know what? We got a whole bunch of kids who are blessed because of it, right?
Mhm.
Because of your perseverance in that. And sometimes when we change gears, it's not wrong for us to change gears and want to do something different. But sometimes the reason why we change gears follows us because it's a mindset, really, instead of I hit an old crap. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, sometimes when we hit them, feel like that's the only one
Yeah.
or that's the one that's going to have the most impact on us.
Mhm.
When really, as we continue to live, we understand like that's just a one. We're getting our reps in to learn how we're going to deal with them when they show up.
Yeah.
And now you've already proven to yourself that perseverance, it works. Getting on the other side of that works. And yourself to feel whatever you feel
Right.
while you push through it.
Your comment made me think of something that a student said to me today. I didn't mention this, but this week is National School Psychologist Week. The whole week.
wow.
So it's great that I'm on a podcast to talk.
That is so
psychology.
cool. I love that.
But my district featured me on the district website because I won a state award in Washington.
Oh, congratulations.
And it's best practices in research and evidence-based practices.
Wow, that is so cool.
That was a huge honor to receive in October, but what was more important was what I heard from a student today. Walked down from writing reports just to interact with kids, and I ran into one I know. She was like, "Hey, I saw you on the website today." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And then we talked a little bit about it, and she was like, "You know what? I showed it to people, and they didn't even know who you were." And I was like, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, they didn't know who you were, but I'll let them know who you were." And I told them where they could find you and what you do.
That is so awesome.
So that made me feel like, yay, like sharing what you do, it matters because this isn't a student that I would typically work with, just a student that I know in passing. So representation matters.
It really does. And she's cheering you on. Also, you know, as much as she's cheering you on, she's literally being bolstered internally.
Right.
As even without words, I can do this, I can do that. Oh my gosh, I love it. Let the people know why you came up with that business and why it's just important to you.
I have had businesses since I was young. I had a business where I would make like jewelry, the third grade, pens. My first year of graduate school, I had another business idea. I did a competition where I pitched. And then I got into what happened with my pivot. I was like, okay, you need to take with the business. Okay, getting this degree. So after I had this is my 4.5 year because I got certified early. So almost 5 year being a school psychologist. But I started thinking about last year starting a business because another pivot happened for me. I got into that.
Oh my
And it could have easily gone the other way. And I feel like God gave me a second chance.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what are you going to do to continue impacting?
Mhm.
You're holding back on what you want to do. So that's what made me just instantly start, filling out the paperwork to get the LLC.
Okay.
And just pressing forward to get that done.
All those moments, like especially accidents or medical situations or anything like that, to me, those are the knock you on your butt moments that I'm talking about. In those moments, so much clarity is possible.
Mhm.
I won't say that it always happens for everyone, but it is so possible. And I do believe that there are heart moments that happen for everybody, but whether we step into it or not. And so I'm just glad to hear that you listened enough to walk out of that with clarity to make a decision about something. And that's beautiful. And for it to be something that's still so connected to what you do, your beliefs with kids and how that works. Tell me a little bit more about your mission and vision.
Yeah, so at first I just knew that I wanted to teach kids social skills. I didn't really know how. I just knew that I wanted to do that. And working at high school, I saw that they were struggling with organizing their lives, getting their homework done, communicating to teachers about assignments. I knew I wanted to help with that. And that would be the executive functioning piece. We would like go to different conferences or get like additional training that I was interested in to just make sure I was immersed in the content. And I started thinking about gifted students and the things that they go through and the support that they oftentimes do not have when other students, like students who have IEPs, they get more support.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So gifted students and talented students are kind of like they're smart. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it
100%.
was an aha moment for me. That's when I was like, okay, my focus is going to be gifted students.
Okay.
And at the time, I was doing a lot of improv and theater. So I was like, this is a great way to teach kids how to be social as well.
Okay.
It all just kind of came together based on what I was doing in my life at the time.
Wow. Give me an example. What's an activity that you would do with the kids?
There's an improv game. I actually don't know what it's called, but you have you use the first letter of your name and you put emotion towards it or like action. So for me, let's say I'd be like sassy Shavanety. So I'd be like sassy Shavanety. Then everyone would have to repeat after me. And then the next person would go and they would do it. And then the goal is by the time you're done doing it a couple of times, you'll be able to point and remember, oh, that's silly Sally.
Okay.
So it helps them remember names and also get out of their head and think about having fun instead of, oh, this is, I don't know these people.
Right.
I think I'm weird. So everybody's being quote unquote weird, right?
It's so true. And I think with gifted students too, they are in their heads for other reasons because they have some analytical skills that are probably in play before they know that that's what it is. They just already kind of dissect things and just observe things a lot. And so I can imagine, and then just depending on the environment, whether it's at home or at school, they might get the freedom to express all that, but sometimes they may not. Sometimes it's just like, you still talk about that? 100%. I love that. Oh my goodness. That is so good. Tell me about, and I kind of have my own journey, but I want to hear from you. Well, you kind of led into it a little bit. She's a serial entrepreneur in that she's been doing this for a long time. That's not like me. Okay. But I'm trying to grow up and be like her. But anyway, tell me a little bit about that part of the pivot though, because you're doing both, right? You're an employee and you're an entrepreneur where you're your own boss. Do you have a team? Like, tell us about that whole juggle and pivot.
Yeah. So right now it's just me, but I know that it's going to expand because I've already noticed I think this is month 11 and I already see the need for there to be like more.
Sure.
So I feel like that's definitely coming in the future, which is exciting.
That is very exciting.
What else?
Do you feel like you flow in and out of employee to employer relatively easy?
Okay, so it is a balance.
Okay.
And the way that I'm maintaining that balance is by having a schedule. Of course I would, because I'm teaching kids.
Right.
But I just have a set schedule for when I'm doing a specific thing. So I make sure that my time is allocated for in the beginning.
Sure. And then when you're at the schools that you're working with, is it just one school? Or
I'm actually at two different schools.
so when you're at the schools, are you predominantly self-supervised kind of thing, or do you have a lot of interaction with administration from like an employee standpoint?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Schools are going to just have a lot of autonomy.
Okay.
So I guess you would say my boss works in a district office, not in the schools, but there are principals in the schools and they oversee the school. Since I'm in the school, sometimes, there's different things that they may need me to do. But for the most part, they trust us to come in and get the job done.
Gotcha. That I could see how that would be a little bit easier to navigate. During the day, I'm here, but then at night, I'm boss. That's cool. Tell me a little bit more about why you chose gifted learners and then specifically the 4th through 8th grade area and what's unique in that challenge for that group.
Okay. So as school psychologists, we like to target early intervention.
Okay.
Since I'm at the high school level, I'm seeing what happens when interventions didn't happen in certain areas.
Got it.
So that's what made me start thinking about, okay, where do they start learning executive functioning skills. Where are they having to really socialize in a manner to where it's like individualized? Because of course they socialize. You see the same homeroom teacher every day, same kids. But as they get older, now it's on you to socialize. It's not right. So that's what made me choose to target grades 4 through 8 to help them in that transition with those skills.
Yeah, so that's going to be really valuable for them. What is the common thread that you might see that kind of flows through those major pivots we've talked about? Maybe what do you feel like the pivots taught you?
Okay. I feel like I've always been a resilient person, but with these pivots that I'm thinking about, forced me to really go in it and like, okay, are you resilient though? Like, sis, are we sure? This is a lot. So it's made me grow as a person. It's also made me humanize experiences more, which has been great.
Yeah.
And lovely. And there was I do remember instances where, maybe I was at a job and they're not giving me what I'm asking for. I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go then.
Right.
So,
Okay. When I was even just preparing to talk with you, that rose to the top for me in one of the notes we were talking about. And I thought, man, I wish I had been more like that sooner. I feel like I had upward moments like that. But predominantly, though, I was more the person you still sitting here, girl, you still doing, you still, so it took me a while. And I think that it matches, y'all don't need to be in my business, but I am like, menopausal, postmenopausal. I don't know which stage yet, but before that life, okay, my ability to really get angry, it took a long time. Like I would get irritated. I can get frustrated like anybody else, but like before I'm like real like mad, it took a long time. Well, that's great, but not so great when you sit in spaces or or enduring things that you shouldn't endure for that long. Like you need to change the environment. It doesn't mean that you have to have calloused hearts or whatever else, but you just change it up. Like it took me a long time to get to that point. Like I was way too old to get there. But I am glad that I did arrive. But reading your notes today made me think of that. I was like, it took you way too long. What were you doing? Okay.
it took me too long.
Other people were happy that you stayed there, but it was too much.
It reminds me of, like say our friend is in a relationship that we don't approve of. Why are you with them? You have to get angry like that about how people are treating you too.
And do we ever? I'm just like, what in the
You
world?
got it. Yeah.
There's a piece that, as a servant heart, as a person who really cares about other people, you see other people, your job is service oriented, very much so. And even if you would have went the lawyer route, that's service oriented in a lot of ways as well, even though people choose certain paths and there's options to really obtain some power to do other things and maybe use it differently. But at the heart of it, it's still an act of service. But all that to say, oftentimes when that is the thing for people, they struggle to place themselves in the receiving end of acts of service.
Yes. I think we're all guilty to something.
And I find a tendency to feel guilty when you need something like that, or, you feel like you're taking away from what somebody else could be or should be getting somehow. I know you're a young woman. You feel like you discovered it late, but you discovered it earlier than me. So you're doing good. Okay. That's the whole reason I do what I do, is for leaders like you to understand, like, you actually deserve to give yourself permission to pause, because you're a boss lady. Even if you haven't started your entrepreneur efforts again, that still is who you are. And that's how you show up in space. And we're grateful for that. But you deserve to give yourself permission to pause, figure stuff out, realign purpose, whatever it is, heal. I want people to understand how much rest, and I'm still learning it myself, for all those who are on the other side of the TV or whatever you're watching this on right now, saying, girl, please quit, stop, because they already know I'll be tripping, right? So I hear you, but I'm trying, I promise. Rest is so important. Rest is our resistance, I've heard that said. And it's so true, because when we're running ourselves like crazy, mentally and or physically or both, somebody's winning, but it's not us.
Yeah.
It's not. Somebody's winning. It ain't us. So we deserve that. And as much as we give, we've been taught that if we just give, somebody don't give it to us at some point.
Yeah.
Or God's gonna give it to you. So of course he's got our back and everything, but he's never asked us to not do for yourself.
Right. It has to be both.
Okay, y'all was teaching us wrong. But and for efforts of, a lot of that stuff is fear-based, but we need to trust, especially those of us who walk in that faith, we need to trust the whole picture, put the principle out there, and then we overmanage it.
Right.
We need to trust that. And in that trust, that means allowing ourselves to rest. For those of us who are high performing, highly productive, always on move, doing the 500 things that we do, trust enough to allow that rest so that we can continue to have these clarity moments that will produce businesses, creative outlets,
Right.
all of those things. We don't even give ourselves a chance to reach that
Yes.
if we don't breathe, make ourselves kind of just chill for a minute. And physically, yes, but I mean, in our brains, because we're still going, always on to the next, or just overanalyzing. I tend to do that sometimes, but do that for yourself. Okay.
I'll have you all know that I'm actually going out of town this weekend
What?
because it's a long weekend.
Okay.
So why would I be working on anything when there's a long weekend?
I love it.
So when you have these opportunities, you need to take them and grab them and run with them.
Yeah.
And have fun.
You know what I heard this week too? Someone, another business leader I was talking to, he said that what he does is personal retreats.
Yes, you have to.
He says every 6 months or so, he goes on a personal retreat just himself. He goes away, tucks away somewhere, and he will review his last 6 months. And then he'll just kind of see how he feels about it. Visualize it, get up, go get a workout in or something.
Mhm.
Just like, it's just all about him in those moments. And then plan out maybe the next 6 months and see what we're going to do with that, and I love that idea. I've done many versions of those things, but they've been more out of survival because I can't go another step.
Oh, too much pent up.
Yeah. I can't do another thing without going to get some alone time with just me. I've learned in the last maybe 5-6 years, that's really when I recharge, is when I actually do pull away. And I love people, but it's where the energy comes back.
Yeah, you're better for people when you tap into self.
Yes. Yeah.
And give back to them.
And I just wasn't raised that way. And I think it just wasn't my natural way of seeing things. So that's been a bit more difficult for me. But now I'm all about it. Now let's bring on the funds so I can make it happen more often. But I'm ready with understanding. And there's something powerful about understanding ourselves well enough to do that. And then even if you don't know yourself well enough to do that, get you some people, okay, who will speak that kind of life into you and who will encourage you, even if it takes you forever to actually step out and do it. Get people in your circle who are going to hold you accountable. When's the last time you went and did something just for you? When's the last time you stepped aside, saw the ocean? When's the last time you looked at
a sunset?
Yeah,
just watch a sunset.
Watch a sunset. And if you're a morning person and you already get up earlier and watch it come up. Go drive somewhere. You know what was a really awesome place is down at Point Reston. So gorgeous down there. And sometimes when I just want to think or even just do a clear my head type of thing, I'll just go park down there at the end and I'll just kind of walk around and just look at the water, hear the sounds. If the mountain's out, see the mountain. If it's sunset, great, even better, because then you get all those beautiful colors that are coming in. Something about this nature that we're a part of.
That's why Black people in Washington, y'all, because it's beautiful.
It is.
I know y'all like but that is why.
It is so pretty here. I just saw another video recently the guy was like, You're asking yourself why you moved here, or you're about to forget because the sun's going away for 8 months. Like, I remember when I first came out here, it was fall. And so I had no clue how gorgeous it was until probably March or April. All of a sudden, I was like, wait, has that mountain been there the whole time? We're especially blessed because we are in a position where we can kind of just get in the car and go in any direction, and we're going to hit some sort of beautiful, audacious
that's
nature.
people.
Just keep coming west, and you'll hit everyone. You'll hit it. So okay, you talk about the power and the pivot, right? Where do you think the power comes from? Is it something you found or something that you built?
That's a deep question. It was deep for me because I feel like it comes from uh like ancestral roots.
Ooh, I love
I
that.
feel like that's the time. I feel like God is positive self-talk and another one.
Okay.
And then having a community of people around me who are lifting me up and always believing in me. They don't think any of my ideas are crazy.
Okay.
They're like,
I love that. For someone listening right now who's in a difficult situation, maybe they're struggling in school, maybe they're feeling unsupported, maybe at work, or dreaming to start something new. What would you say to them about recognizing when it's time to pivot?
I have multiple thoughts. First, I'm not sure about others, but I love to write. And especially when you're a creative or someone thinking about starting a business, you just start writing these things down, making them plain.
Mm-hmm.
Draw pictures of what you think your business logo will look like.
Oh, I like that.
Draw pictures of what you think your office will look like or what you want it to look like, and start envisioning those things. And that'll be super helpful for you.
I like that a lot. Okay. Now, if you can go back and tell that graduate student who had just made that C that summer class one thing, what would it be?
Girl, you know you can't quit.
Quit playing. You know
You know
you gotta keep going.
that is not an option. I was acting like it was an option.
Right.
It's not. It's not. Don't stop.
Because you're like all the energy that I use to try to really think that I'm just not gonna.
In the world that I position myself to try to play myself like
Right, right. Well, let me tell you, I'm glad you're saying that. Listen to her future self if you were in that position right now trying to figure things out. Okay. But it's so real though that there are people who would have made that other decision. And that speaks to the things that you just listed a minute ago about where that power comes from, because those are roots. That's something that's kind of just like rooted within you, even though you're still learning and making and growing and all of those things. When there's some roots to attach to,
yes.
then it's easier to shake yourself and say, quit.
Right. And I've always been I guess you could say a deep child.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
And then you look at your endeavors in life.
Yeah. So being this deep child me, it's the degree to I'm just myself. It's the legacy to come. It's not just about me obtaining the degree. It's when I get the degree, what impact will I have in the world, my family, etc. So it wasn't just about quitting. It was
Right.
if I quit on that, I'll be quitting on legacy, on impacting lives, et cetera, et cetera. So I know.
Mike, I want each of you to understand that that level of self-reflection, self-awareness, it's available to all of us. Really. It's just what will we choose to feed? That's what I tell people, right? Whether you're feeding that ability to want to grow, whether you're feeding the poo-poo moment, because if you would have fed that, you might not have made that choice, right? What do we choose to feed? We want it all, so we're going up, okay? Even if we have a moment where we dip down, we come back up. If we coast for a little bit, although I use that word and I just heard yesterday's quote, and I don't remember whose quote it is, but it says, if you're coasting, you're actually going downhill. Because you're not engaging. You can't coast. You don't coast when you're on a plane. You're going to just stop, right?
Yeah.
You can only coast if you're going downhill. So, but we can manage what we do and how we do it what our energy management is compared to our time management. We all have the same amount of time, but we have different access to energy, and we get to decide where we place that energy.
And yeah, and I want to say also, it's important that we're all going to have those thoughts of doubt and things like that. It's important to listen to it. Just literally pretend it's a person, sit her down and be like, look, I hear you. I know you're upset or whatever, but we're not doing that.
Right.
This is what we're going to do. So sometimes you really just have to do that because the voice can be so loud.
Ooh, that's so good. Okay. Where can listeners connect with you and learn more about what you do? And then if they have a gifted student and they want them to come and be a part of what you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm super active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I have a link tree that has all of the links to all of my things, my email, etc.
I'm literally going to go home and talk to my son and daughter-in-law right now, today, about what you do, and thinking of my granddaughter. Thank you so much for coming. I know we could talk again for sure. You guys hear me say that a lot. How I look at that is that I know I already have repeat guests. Right?
Yeah.
We come back, we talk about some more. We might take a trip up down more of our creative side and hear some more about those things. But I do want to have you back again one day. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been another awesome episode, and we will see you next time on The Dynamic Pause with Coach Angie. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take a pause in the moment. Breathe deep, let the soul lift. The podcast is to grow with. The clarity is potent. Take a pause in the moment. Breathe deep, let the soul lift. The podcast is to grow with. The clarity is potent.